Hey traders, welcome to Charts and Coffee. I hope everyone had a great weekend, a relaxing weekend, a little time away from the screens, and now it's time to get back at it. By the way, the top tier Outlook newsletter, which is a great way to kick off the week, to kick off the morning, to get focused on those sectors, those stocks, those indices that should be on the radar. That will be posted later on this morning, probably in the next 30 to 45 minutes. All those folks that are, and again, welcome. I'll see you all in the Sector Secrets Mastery Room shortly. All of you that are on the trial for this month, that of course will be available to you as well. And so keep an eye out for that. Heads up, I'll send out the alert when it is available as well. And that brings me to, gang, this is the last day. If you haven't already signed up for the trial, again, there is a hard cutoff. Tuesday morning, too late. All right, gang. So please, if you've been thinking about kicking the tires on what we're doing in the Sector Secrets Mastery, do it now. I mean, you have till midnight. $7 trial package, and a package it is. SimpleTrading.com/outlook. All right, let's get to it, gang. What do we got going on? Let's kick it off with the economic calendar. We have, of course, the economic calendar around the data releases. Not a lot of data to deal with. We have some FOMC speak that's already in the rearview mirror. So we're inheriting that psychology. And if you take a look at the broader averages since 8/15, initially, when Harker was expected to talk, we saw a pretty decent downside candle on the NQ, on the Dow, and the S&P. And in the wake of that, so 8/15 FOMC member Harker, 8/30 FOMC member Bowman, and we've actually rallied since both of those events. All right, let's see if this holds into the open. And that's pretty much what we've got as far as economic data or hot zones today. Now, I don't want to ignore some of the bond auctions and whatnot. We know at the Bank of Japan, and I have a blurb in Top Tier Outlook. If you're curious, what did Bank of Japan do? It was actually a slight change in wording that created the movement, but it might be worth keeping an eye. Now, I won't be up at 11:35 p.m., but definitely worth seeing as we wake up tomorrow morning with the aftermath of that 30-year bond auction, the JGBs, what that ultimately yielded and what that might do to U.S. Treasury. So that's about it in terms of data. Now, the other place we want to look, and a lot of folks have asked me about this, Rog, you talk about Estimize all the time, and you say there's a way to have a free account. Yes, they've done this forever. I've used my StockTwits login forever, and I do have a premium subscription to this service, but you don't need to start there at all. I do want everyone to have an economic calendar that isn't about, sadly, what seems to be the focus, which is these earnings hot zones are this week. Gang, that's too late. The best way to prepare for earnings is with that 642 window that I've been teaching for years. The window means that there's a better, lower implied volatility environment. And this is for traders who like to buy calls or buy puts, so directional debits. But the best window for that is the 4, maybe 2 weeks in front of the earnings release, not a binary play on the wacky volatility of earnings, but rather the lead up to much better organized, much larger trading window. So I don't care what's coming out today or tomorrow. That was something that was decided, 14, 28 days ago, right? So if you're thinking about how to treat earnings, scroll out to 2 weeks. Look at that window, because if you're looking at something now, unless you're playing some sort of, selling credit or some sort of binary move on the volatility, which I am frankly not a fan of, now it's really just a matter of which one of these stocks have the ability to move the key sectors and indices. And this is a list of the ones that I'm keeping an eye on. Lilly, healthcare, UPS, right? You go down your industrials, your Dow, your transports. So these are the ones that I'll keep an eye on as we go through the week. And there are still some significantly weighted hot zones by way of earnings to be dealing with. So remember, tail can wag the dog. An individual stock can move the broader sector or the broader average. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into the questions. Good morning. Good morning. Great to see you all. All right. Yeah, I'm rocking a little bit of, I need to make another one of these. Got an espresso. Oh, you can't see that with the question. A little espresso. Got some ketones in there and a pinch of salt. Brings it all together. All right. So first up, Jay asks, what are my thoughts on the ZB? Both the 10-year and the 30 have their auctions this week. So I think that's worth considering in terms of hot zones that'll move the futures contract. The 10-year, the ZN, moved into a downtrend before the long bond, the ZB. However, even though they're both in downtrends, if there is going to be a near-term support level, a near-term bottom, look at how many times we are seeing support at the daily price movement range, right? And I think that's really important to note that the daily price movement ranges, take a look here and here and here and here and here, right? Now, not every time is a harbinger to movement higher, but it is a potential reason to look for support. And if nothing else, don't short in the gray, right? So those of you saying, Rob, what about shorts? Short, right? Short. You can look at a lot of these levels as levels to short from as well. Now, I'm not necessarily keen on the short side of bonds because if the U.S. is indeed going to be moving into that pause and potentially a cut come March to May of next year, bond yields should be moving higher. The move in bonds, that sharp move lower that triggered, as you can see on the first, a lot of that's going to be one, just movement within a range that we established, but the break of that was really the Bank of Japan. So how long does this market stay below, say, 123? That's the question. That's really the question. At what point do we erase that Bank of Japan move? So Jay, right now, I'll be frank. It's not really on the radar on the longer term daily, maybe the 1 hour and possibly a 5 minute. So I love the ZB idea, but let's shorten the time frame, which really is sort of the overall mantra for August. Let's shorten the time frame. Let's not look for longer term follow through during this month, which is historically choppy. Let's remember that the fall trading season is right around the corner. Shortening the time frame, shortening the time horizon is really going to serve us. And I think ZB is a great reminder of that aftermath of BOJ and then waiting for the bond auction, the 10 and the 30 this week. All right. Thanks for the question. SJ asks, what are my thoughts on January 24 Goldman? Thinking of buying the 400 strike. All right. So if I'm looking at Goldman, the way that I would view Goldman is not even from the standpoint of a setup, right? Now, I know you've got a setup in mind and whatever that process is, I don't have insight into that. So let me walk you through the process of relative outperformance. This is the key, the heart, the whole sort of secret, not so secret behind sector secrets. Is Goldman in an uptrend? Yes. So the first thing is it passes the first test, right? Berkshire, JP Morgan, Visa, Bank of America, Wells, and yes, Goldman. So yes, it can make the list for me for long positions. All right, so let's dial into Goldman. And the question is Jan 24. So you're playing much further out, right? Which is fine. So that would definitely be a daily, if not weekly, time frame conversation. So then the question is, and I went into a little bit of a soapbox, got up on the soapbox and talked about what trading is, right? And I think a lot of traders still believe, and I think all of us at one point do this. It's a very typical new trader approach, or a new strategy approach, which is, can the strategy tell me where the target is? Remember, again, targets are not trades, right? The management and the entry is then bookended with the target. So I don't know why 400 is in play, SJ. So again, not knowing what the process is, far be it for me to judge that. But what I will tell you is 400 is an out of the money strike. I'd rather be using an option as really a proxy for if I wanted to buy Goldman stock. If I wanted to buy Goldman stock, it's going to be on a pullback to 344 to about 337. So that zone allows me to have a nice buy the dip because you've got a great uptrending stock here. New uptrend, but still an uptrend. That's the mean reversion, right? That's the pullback into support. From there, I can manage risk, and then I can grab an at the money or slightly in the money call. So A, I don't buy out of the money calls, and B, I don't want to turn a trade into simply a target. And how do you know you're listening to analysis or stumbling into that? And I frankly think that's a mistake. So again, just my opinion. Anytime we're looking at a target, we're forgetting risk, and we're forgetting that trading really is the path towards the target. The target is not the trade, it's the path. And the path has to be a risk managed approach. So I need to pull back to that area, maybe a 340 call. And then at that point, think about this. And this is what we do in the mastery. So if I have that call, guess what I get to do? I can pay myself at 360. That'll be a pretty darn good profit where I can not get out of the trade, but I can pay myself, move to a break even. And then to your point about 400, SJ, now I can be really ambitious about that next target because you've given yourself enough time. And then at that point, imagine having a 340 strike that you bought in weakness, that you've now been able to pay yourself on, and then going for 400. It's a different process than what really, frankly, most traders do, which is a target-oriented type approach, where this is the market, this is where the market's going, as if any of us know that for a fact, right? So I hope that helps. All right, next up, Costco or Walmart. Trade this or that, right, Robert? Okay, if you checked out Friday's video, that was trade this, not that. I love the question. So let's take a look. First of all, Costco is in an uptrend. Now, Costco is an interesting stock because there is some consumer discretionary exposure, therefore NASDAQ exposure. Walmart's a little bit more staples. I like them both, right? So in this case, Robert, I don't think we have to go or. This could be an and. And it's just a matter of which one triggers a mean reversion entry. I think that's very much okay. Why is that okay? Because when I look at the weighting of Costco and I look at the weighting of Walmart, they're not necessarily sharing space. They're not necessarily in the same sector and in the same group. So I'm not sort of doubling down on a single sector or a single idea. They're two different things at work. So I would go and they're both an uptrend. So I like that a lot. All right, next up, green eggs and ham. I just signed up for the trial. Very cool. My question for you is watching bonds. You mean long for a mean reversion trade or a fundamental? Long, just long, no trade yet. Green eggs and ham. Yeah, no trade yet. If I want to be long, it'll actually be an oversold buy if and when ZB can go back into a neutral and you have the indicator of the multi-trend. We need to see that lower row of the multi-trend go yellow. I'm not talking of, I never trade based on fundamentals alone or macro alone. Fundamentals and macro do not offer timing. That's really, really important. They do not offer timing. So what I want to do is think about, well, first of all, if we have a decent PPI and University of Michigan inflation expectation on Friday, could that then continue to increase the expectation for a pause for the remainder of 2023? And then that would open up the cut to 2024. That will help put in a low in bonds. The auction could help put in a low in bonds. Those are all data, kind of fundamental macroeconomic points, right? But still, I need to see the dovetail of those and the technicals. So I'm looking for a potential long, but it's not ripe quite yet. When will utilities get bullish? When will rates pause? Megawatt, you asking me to tell the future? Some people will answer that. I'll tell you this. I have no idea. But what we can do is ask ourselves, where is it most likely to happen? So if utilities are, and you're asking about XLU, if utilities are going to pause, Probably NEE is going to have to be at the heart of that. But, I'll be quite frank. I'm not really worried about whether or not utilities pause. That's not something that's high on my list because, and here's why. There are other sectors that are uptrending. Russell, Dow, financials, regional banks, energies. So where we look is number one for me. However, if XLU is something specifically you're interested in, then I would say you're in a neutral environment on the daily time frame. We're closing in on that Darvis support that's waiting in the vicinity of about the 64 handle. We're nearly oversold on the stochastic, as you can see. So not quite yet. And I would want to see a minor low form before I get bullish. As far as rates pausing, most expectations are we're in a rate pausing environment now. All right. Editor says, I'm really enjoying Sector Secrets. I'm so pleased. You share a wealth of information and strategies. Much appreciated. Editor, my pleasure and my job. We take it very seriously. We're not here. Look, it's a room where we keep things really methodological. I'm making words up here. We keep a methodology. We keep it sequential. I combine the two words. There really should be a word like that. And what we try to do is just rinse and repeat. So while there is a lot to learn in the beginning, as there would be if we were learning any new skill, right? Within about a month, you're going to have a foundation that you can build upon for the rest of your career, as well as tools that are going to work with anything else you decide to continue to bolt on to this engine that you're going to be building with me this month, right? So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's going to be a great month where, for experienced traders, we're going to go into a lot of those basics that sometimes we've forgotten or sort of kind of fell by the wayside over the months or if not years. So it's going to be a great for our experienced current members, and for new members, yeah, you're gonna see a lot of ideas that maybe you never thought of before. All right, so awesome. BKNG, hey there, Sue. Do I like BKNG? It looks toppy. It's in an uptrend, Sue. We don't pick tops in uptrends. What would my price for buying Apple be? My price for Apple. We need a pattern to confirm, and that pattern is going to be a minor low. I don't have it yet. No, I don't have one yet. Editor, not yet. Do I like AMD? And by the way, gang, if at the end of your watch list building process, you do not have fewer symbols, right? You do not have fewer symbols. When I know that I've gone through my process and I have more than I started off with, I've done it wrong. The whole process of watch list building is sort of like that old analogy with a sculptor, that old saying, Michelangelo, what did he say about when he made the statue of David? What did you do? I kept carving away until all that was left was David, right? I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's the process of trading. It's an elimination. It's cutting away. It's reducing until you're left with your watch list. You're left with the David. You're not adding, right? You're not adding. So to me, part of trading is being able to say, not yet, right? It's not a no. It's just a not yet. AMD, no. I think there's so many other places, Kadar, in SMH and just in tech in general, that look better than AMD. So while I like where AMD is, I don't necessarily like AMD yet. It doesn't mean it's a no. It just means there might be other relative performers. I mean, think NVDA, right off the bat, right? There's a number of other names in semis. And this is a process we go through again and again and again in the mastery. It's a big part of that. All right. D says signed up for the trial. Awesome. Awesome. All right, gang. So we're going to wrap up here. And just one more reminder. And gang, it is a hard cutoff. All right. The trial is definitely a month-long experience that has already started, but you're still in that window where you can sign up. Once it's midnight tonight, gang, that's it. I'll be communicating to the office, gang. This is it, because we cannot do the trial if we're going to be, kind of straggling in. I want to be really honest about that. Tonight's the cutoff. So if you want to check it out, simplertrading.com/outlook. It ends midnight tonight. I believe it's midnight tonight. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was sooner. So, okay, gang, have a great one. And I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same station. Be good to each other.